Good evening, everyone. Phil here, and welcome to the Daily Wrap for what was Tuesday, the 16th of July, 2024, my final consecutive streaming day of the week. Let's talk about how it went. First of all, on the podcast, it was a pretty good one where we solidified certain things that are going to be coming up in the schedule, including, Fallout 4 returning, trying out Kamitsugami coming out this Friday on Game Pass, and some events and things that we want to do during the upcoming marathon. We even are kind of narrowing it down with the whole idea of the next playthrough that I'll do on DSP Throwback. We had some game news to cover, so it was a nice chill show. And then we jumped into the end game, the final boss of Elden Ring's Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. Now, this was my first real attempt at it. Although I had tried it earlier in the week for like 20, 30 minutes. That wasn't really a good attempt. I didn't think I was going to beat him that fast anyway. And so today I gave it the good old college try, and we tried many different things. The first, I tried the whole shield and holy mace build, guard counters, okay? I got pretty far doing that. I could basically get to his second form, all right? But it would take a while, all right? And I felt like it wasn't necessarily a good way to get to his second form because you want to get there faster so you can focus on the second form more often. If it's taking you upwards of 5 to 10 minutes to get to the second form, then when you get to the second form, you better play well, or else if you learn nothing, it's like you wasted all that time. I was like, there's got to be an easier way to do this. I tried various different things. First, we tried respecking to make it so that the shield would reflect more holy damage, but sadly, it doesn't really work too well when you can barely get to the second form because it takes too long. Then we tried changing out the mace for a sword. No, the sword still wasn't doing enough damage. It was taking way too long. Then I tried, instead of blocking with the shield, just dodging around, and that was working better, but I still wasn't dealing enough damage. And I said, you know what? I'm sorry, but at this point, what has been my best build this entire playthrough, let's be honest, the dual hammers, okay? So I switched over to dual hammers, and I realized if I'm dual hammers, now I don't need ultimate poise and defense because I'm not blocking with the shield anymore. So I switched out my build, my armor a little bit to be like holy resistant. And I'll say this, out of all the attempts I did today, the dual hammers is the best. Because what ended up happening was I started learning the phase 1 attacks, and I started dodging them fairly perfectly. I even found out by the end of the stream, someone explained to me how to dodge all of the gravity meteors, which is awesome that they gave me that tip, because I was trying to roll, and rolling doesn't really work, but jumping does. So basically, the first form I've got down. That whole first half of the fight, unless I make a mistake, which I do, I'm not perfect, I'm pretty much mastering the first half. It's not that big of a deal. Okay? It's definitely the second half of the fight that's harder, where now there's a ton of holy magic all over the screen that seems almost random at times. The fact that there's so many effects on the screen that you can't really see what's going on to dodge it. And I'll be honest, I do feel like this final boss of the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC is difficult because of the camera and the effects, not because of the boss. I don't think that anything the boss particularly does is too crazy, but the problem is there's holy magic shooting everywhere, and it, half the time, actually blocks your field of vision. All you see is the effect in your screen. It's the equivalent of you're playing a video game, and someone comes up behind you and keeps doing this. Ha ha, play. All right, I'm just kidding. Oh, ha ha, try playing now. Oh, I'm just kidding. Oh, here we go, ha ha. But while their eyes are closed, if you get hit, you die instantly. Right? It's like, wait, what? Why did they do that? Honestly, I think they just wanted to be ultimately annoying. Because I'm going to be honest, I don't think that there's anything super challenging in this final boss fight. I think it's actually an annoyance factor of the camera than the fight. And honestly, that's been the entirety of the DLC. I mean, think about the first boss that gave me problems. The dancing lion. Why? Because I couldn't fucking see it. The camera kept going in it. At one point, the camera literally went into the dancing lion's butthole. And we were watching it from inside its colon, watching it eat me. And they can't figure out how the camera works yet. They've only been making games for what? 14 years or something like that? Like, when was Demon's Souls? It's like, what is going on here? So, anyway. After trying the hammer build, which I was getting better and better, I probably had played about maybe an hour, hour 45 minutes. All right? People started suggesting, well, why don't you change up your build? Because there are things you could do with your move set and everything. Why don't you go bleed build? And I was like, bleed build? They're like, yeah, you keep playing exactly like you're doing, but actually put bleed aspect on your weapons. So now when you're hitting, you're actually also building up bleed. So you're doing big chunks of damage with the hammers, but then also, boom, every few hits, he's going to have another giant chunk of health go off of his health bar because of the bleed buildup. And I was like, that could work. And, that could be very useful for second half when maybe I could bully my way through a few hits and then just try to heal and see if the bleed will take effect, right? So I'm like, let's do it. But guess what? To upgrade weapons that are bleed, all right, I need to have bell bearings. I need to have smithing stones, regular smithing stones, because the good bleed weapons is like the giant severed arm of the enemy that you get from the DLC, stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna level up this severed arm. It's a good weapon for this dual build of bleed build. Okay, let's do it. Well, I don't have the bell bearings to get the smithing stones, so now I gotta go get them. So I run to this dungeon in Liurnia and I turbo through it in like 10 minutes. I beat it. I get the bell bearing. Well, guess what? I need further smithing stones. I need the other bell bearing. So now I turbo over to just outside of the capital city. I go into this optional dungeon. I open a chest. There it is. Got the bell bearing. Buy all of them. Level the bloody arm all the way up. Put the bleed aspect ash on it or whatever. Okay? Get my other mace, the holy mace, which is the other one that you can put ashes on. Put bleed aspect on that. Dual wield. Let's do this. Let's use the same strategy I've been doing, but now we'll have build bleed up. So bleed build up. I've been saying that completely backwards. Bleed build up. We go back. I rush in. Oh, jump. No attack. Wait, what? Jump. Doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Because they're not the same weapon type. This new weapon that I built up is a colossal weapon. The mace that I could put the bleed build on is considered a giant mace or whatever. So they're two weapons. You can't double slam them. So I can't do double hammer build with this build because I don't have the right weapons. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So I just spent all that time, like no exaggeration. That was like 45 minutes out of my stream to get this bloody arm leveled up and put bleed aspect on it just for it to be worthless because I can't do the build. So to try to salvage the end of my stream, I basically started two-handing the bloody arm. And it does work. It does. Just that the initial hits don't do a lot of damage. I think when I was doing the double slam, it was doing like 24 to 2600. Now this hit it's 2 hits and it's like 1600. But when it builds up, the bleed build does like 6000. The problem is you need to hit them a bunch of times to get bleed build. So people are like, honestly, you were doing more damage with the double hammers. You really were. So the bleed build isn't really working two-handed. I'm like, so next time I play, because we ran out of time doing all this nonsense, like next time I play, I have options. Option number 1 would be just keep two-handing the bleed build mace, try to get better with it, and see if it works. Option number 2 would be to get a second weapon that I need to level up from scratch, okay? Get it, put bleed build on that. It has to be a colossal weapon. It cannot be the stupid mace. It has to be another colossal weapon that you can put this bleed aspect on. So I'll have 2 bleed aspect maces or colossal weapons and jump slam. Then I should be doing double damage and building bleed. But I didn't have that ready for the end of the stream. So it's like my options are go back to the 2 hammers I was already using, try to two-hand the 1 bleed build thing, or try to do jump double slam with 2 bleed builds. And it's like, oh my God. Here's the thing. I just know I'm going to get it done. This boss, I'll stick by my statement. I don't feel the final boss of this DLC is as hard as Melania. I don't think so. Because he doesn't self-heal. He doesn't do the endless combo. You know what I mean? He just has tricky things that are hard to see because there's too many effects on the screen. And I feel like if the effects weren't there, this would actually not be so hard of a fight. The problem is the effects are constantly screwing with your vision, so you can't see when to dodge and do stuff, right? So, the way I see it, I'll get it done. Will it be this coming Saturday when we try again? I don't know. We'll see. It was a hell of a run today, but I basically wasted almost an hour at the end of my stream. I'll try not to do that next time. So, that was the first stream. Late stream tonight was Riven Remake, and let me just say this. We got to a part of the game. Everyone was saying, you're going to see new stuff's about to happen. They were right. I ended up going to an alternate world. Then I went back, and it was time to power up that book we've been trying to power up the whole game to go to another new world. First of all, there was an insane lore dump in a book, and I had to read for a good half an hour straight. That's not an exaggeration. There was a half an hour of lore that I had to read because it's not voice acted. Okay? Then, all right, I'm just going to say this. I love this game, but they definitely went too far tonight. There is a puzzle in Riven Remake. I don't know if it's the same as the puzzle in the original game because I didn't play the original. This puzzle requires you to have gotten information, just listen to this, okay, from 4 or 5 different parts of the game that are all removed. They're not next to each other, easy to access. They're all over the island, all different islands in the game. And you needed to somehow know that this knowledge was going to be needed for a future puzzle to know what to record and write down and memorize. So, for example, I'm not kidding you. This puzzle requires you to know the symbol that corresponds to each island, the color that corresponds to each island, what each island looks like in a separate puzzle, okay? The actual solution to a previous puzzle, which needs to be reproduced in this puzzle. It also needs you to have had a solution from another puzzle that you never knew was a puzzle. You didn't know what you were doing when you actually did it. It was that confusing of a puzzle that you wouldn't have known what it was supposed to be at the time. But luckily I took a picture of it earlier in the game. So it's a frequency puzzle. And then based on the frequency puzzle, you also need to have the codex solved from another part of the game that you've already used in previous puzzles. You have to use that codex to create a numerical code to have frequencies to plug into that part. So just think about this. Symbols, colors, island names, spacing and correspondence per previous puzzle, a frequency, how to read said frequency using a codex from another part of the game. I'm not kidding you. Like, this expects you to spend about at least an hour just to solve the one puzzle. You would have to backtrack throughout the entirety of the game, looking at everything from the game that you've unlocked already to get the solution, and even then you might not get it because it's very confusing. So I solved about 80% of the puzzle myself, and then I was like, there is no chance I'm going across the map, which will take me a half an hour, to see the lights that correspond with each island by pressing buttons on another part of the game. So I looked that part up. And outside of that, I pretty much knew everything else. I figured it out on my own. It took forever, but we got it done. Then we got to a whole new part of the game, big cutscene, and then we ran out of time. So it was a great night, great progress, but a very frustrating night because that puzzle took so long. And I'm just scratching my head like, what made them think that would be fun? That you need to literally have things from 10 different parts of the game all coincide to solve a single puzzle. Like, what? No one wants to backtrack that much. Even in all the previous games I played, Resident Evils and everything, no game ever would have expected you to do that much backtracking. That's just insanity, you know. Or the game would be like, here's the key, you'll use it later, but you know, oh, it's a key, I'm going to use it later. Now, oh, it just so happened that there might have been something in an environment you needed to take a picture of just in case for later, but you needed to know that 7 times. Just 7 things you didn't know what they were, but you needed to take a picture of. What? They're out of their minds. Anyway, I mean, look at my notes for this game are insane at this point. Like, I have insane notes for how to do stuff in Riven Remake. So anyway, we didn't get to the end, but we're getting close. I was told by someone, yeah, you're likely beating it next stream. Like, there's not much left. You're definitely going to beat it next time you play. All right. So we finished nothing today, but we're darn close. Okay. Good day with support as well. Thank you to everyone who supported the streams. I really appreciate that. So I'm off from streaming tomorrow. All right. When I return on Thursday, I'll get you all caught up with a nice level 1 podcast with the Phil's Day Off segment, with gaming news and all of that. And then we're jumping back into Street Fighter 6, my second formal stream with the Victrix joystick. Last time when I played, I did well. I actually had more wins than losses. I earned ranking points. I'm excited to play more with Bison. I'll study some videos and see how it goes. And then on Thursday night, it will be Stardew Valley. Friday, we're trying this new game, Kumitsugami, which is on Game Pass. It's Path of the Goddess. Not sure what to make of it. The reviewers are saying it's good. Since it's on Game Pass, I'll give it a shot. And if you guys and I like it, I'll do a playthrough. If not, if it ends up being something, meh, what is this? We don't have to play it again. Hey, no pressure, because guess what? It's Game Pass. I love that about it. And then Friday night fights. Saturday will be the hopeful conclusion of the Elden Ring DLC. And that's also, hopefully, when we'll be finishing Riven. So by Saturday this week, we may have wrapped up 2 playthroughs and then start to move on to new stuff later on this week. Okay? Thank you all for an outstanding streaming week. Thanks so very much for everything. Appreciate you all. I will see you all Thursday. Peace out.